Mambo Africa. Mambo Africa. Mambo Africa. Mambo Africa. Hey, Mambo Africa. Mambo Africa. Wow, Kanimambo, good morning, Sanwanani, Dumerang, Dimachero, Nima, Africa. How are you this morning, Africa? I'm just so excited that I can come into your room, into your home, into your hotel room, and just discuss these very important things today. I believe and I hope that you are doing well wherever you are catching me from. This is your friend and brother, Emmanuel Nkhoma, coming all the way from the African Institute of Leadership and Governance right here in South Africa. This morning, it's Tuesday, the 26th of April, the year 2022. Our lesson for today, it's module 6, where we have been looking at developing an IDP. Now, an IDP, we defined it in two folds in the School of Governance. The first part of IDP is what we call individual development plan, where an individual set up his goals, where an individual set up his strategies, where an individual looks at things and say, this is what I want to achieve. So we moved it further in the School of Applied Leadership, and we said an IDP is also what is known as an integrated development plan, an integrated development plan. So when I speak of an IDP this morning, I am referring it to an integrated development plan. Let me know where you are catching me from and where you are watching from. Those of you that are watching and those of you that are listening. At the African Institute of Leadership and Governance, we are a registered institute that is there to help you develop your leadership skills, mentorship, and also we are here to see to it that Africa is governed well. So let's move forward. Michelle Ravina, welcome. Michelle Ravina, welcome. Let's continue now looking at an IDP versus NDP. For those of you who did not attend the lesson maybe yesterday, due to one reason or the other, those of you who did not start with us module 6, where we are looking at the IDP, I would love to remind you a few snippets that I can talk about in an IDP. That is very important, because if I just start to proceed without you understanding where we are coming from, it might be difficult for you to catch this 15 minutes lesson. Let's look at an IDP definition in the Applied School of Leadership. We say an IDP is an integrated development plan or planning. Okay, this is a process through which organizations prepare a strategic development plan for a period of time. When I say an organization, it can be a municipality, it can be a political party, it can be a church, it can be a business. So you must understand that. Number 2, I also says the IDP is revealed for at a certain given time. An IDP must always be revealed. You cannot just have a vision and you do not reveal. So there is what we call in management aim and ease, monitoring and evaluation. You must put what we call monitoring and evaluation system or systems. There is always organizations that are available to help you do your monitoring and evaluation. For today, allow me just to recommend one called Ipsos. Ipsos is there to make sure that they check, they vet, they look at what you are doing. They go out and conduct more or less of assessors, but at this particular time, what Ipsos does is that they go out there and gather data pertaining to your organization on how people are using your product in the marketplace. So you might not have an in-house evaluation or a monitoring and evaluations mechanism or technological know-how. You can reach out to other organizations. For example, if you are a country or you are in a financial institution, there's always these organizations that are there, like Grant Thornton. They help you. Grant Thornton will help you with auditing. There is Deloitte and Touche that will help you with auditing. There can be many others. For countries, we've got organization like the Fitch, which comes in and do the ratings and all that. We've got different organizations that are used by World Bank, Global Fund, IMF, International Monetary Fund. So in order for you to achieve all these things, you must find institutions or organizations that are going to be able to do what you call your aim and ease, your monitoring and evaluation, so that your IDP is revealed professionally. So you must understand that IDP are revealed at every given period of time. So you can give your IDP, your integrated development plan, you can give the period of review, let's say 3 months. After 3 months, you review. But 3 months is too short if you're dealing with a multinational organization or a multinational company. So 3 months is too little. You can develop it to, let's say, 1 year. Every year you review. Every year you review. What have we done? What have we achieved? Where are we? Number 3, the IDP is a guide. It guides all planning, budgeting, okay, management, and key decision making. An IDP is very key in these 3 things that I've said. Number 1, an IDP is important in your planning. An IDP is important in your budgeting. An IDP is important in management and decision making. So at all times, have this document that you refer to in order for you to move on and on and on. So I urge every organization. Tema, thank you. Thank you very much. Shandi Tema, you're welcome. So I encourage every one of you in class, and even those of you on Facebook. I'm seeing some of you on Facebook. Keep commenting, guys. Yeah, I'm encouraging each one of you to develop an IDP. Remember, it is in 2-4 that I'm talking about. Develop an IDP as an individual development plan. Set your goals, set your time frames, set your strategy, map the areas of your marketplace, and then know the product that you are dealing with. Then you'll be able to say, this is what you want to do, and this is what you want to achieve. Okay, so once you have said those things, you will therefore have to set up a mechanism that will make sure that your IDP is implemented. All right, so one more time, those of you that are joining us and you don't know who is speaking to you, this is your friend and brother Emmanuel Nkhoma from the African Institute of Leadership and Governance. I'm here teaching on a subject, or in this course called Applied Leadership, and today's topic is Module 6, where we have been looking at developing an IDP. But today we are looking at IDP versus NDP. Today I have added now. Remember, I was doing a review. So let's go into our today's topic, where we look at IDP versus NDP. Therefore, An IDP we have defined. Let's define what is an NDP. An NDP is known as a National Development Plan. NDP is called National Development Plan. Now, if you are in government or if you are in the civil service, okay, or what we call in public service, you will appreciate that every government has got a guide that is called an NDP, a National Development Plan. It may be called differently in your country. It may be called different in other countries. But an NDP is a guide at which the national leadership or cabinet or the national leadership draws lines or a developmental strategic plan. Usually, an NDP is stipulated in a 5-year period. An NDP is stipulated in a 5-year period. Now, at this particular time, when you look at an NDP is there to guide the national development. At this particular time, let us look at the history of the NDP. How do we have an NDP? Where does an NDP comes from? An NDP is drawn from a political manifesto. An NDP is drawn from a political manifesto, which is built based on what we call a cabinet decisions or a cabinet policy formulation mechanism. A cabinet policy formulation mechanism. So, why do we call it NDP? It's because an NDP has what is known as a political will. Now, how does it affect you? How does it affect your business? Remember this, that you can have an individual development plan. You can have gone out there as an organization with an integrated development plan. But in order for those plans to reach to fruition, they need what we call a political will or a political deliberate effort. Because let's say you have got an organization or you have got a company, and that company is selling tomatoes. You will discover that you don't just go and start selling tomatoes. There are governmental structures or municipal structures which has prepared laws on how people are selling marketeers, who are selling tomatoes as marketeers, how they ought to trade. So there are policies that are formed out there. So you must understand, therefore, you must read what does the NDP states. The NDP, therefore, can also be drawn from the regional organs or the regional bodies, like the SADC, for example, we're in Southern Africa, ECOWAS in those in West Africa. You know, they can be drawn from the AU, the African Union, and then you develop what we call a national development plan. Then you must look at how does the national development plan affect the functionality of your business? How does it affect your functionality of your work? Okay. Remember this. I have always said this, that when a government comes into power, that's now we're dealing with governance, guys. When a government comes into power, they have what they call a political manifesto, which they have been selling to the people. Now, there is what we call an implementation plan, which is now the NDP. That implementation plan is where the policies that will be formulated, or the policies that are formulated, will be found. So this document will be distributed through all the departments. It has to be written. It has to be academically sound. It has to be practically implementable, so that every Jim and Jack in the jungle understands the importance of the National Development Plan. Now, the National Development Plan is affected by the IDP when there is no integration. When we began by looking at the IDP, and you find that let's say I'll give an example of the political party in South Africa called the EFF, Economic Freedom Fighters. In their political manifesto, they have got a statement what they call expropriation of land without compensation. When they get into power as the ruling party for the whole country, now, South Africa, you know how it is, decentralized governance system. So a political party like the DA is governing the municipalities and governing in the Western Cape. In KwaZulu-Natal, we have got the majority. Of course, we have got most of the municipalities governed by the IFP. At one particular time, the IFP was governing the KZN. But at the moment, it's shared, I believe. Now, let's look at it from this perspective. Let's look at it from this perspective. If the EFF comes into power and their manifesto has been expropriation of land without compensation, we must look at what are the mechanisms, the legal mechanisms which will support that. We must also look at what will National Development Plan speak about that. So you might find that this is the reason why a politician will say something else when they are not in government. And when they get into government, they change. Then we say, what happened? The reason why when they get into government, they change, it's simply because they find that their IDP does not align with the NDP. So the NDP supersedes. Are we together? The NDP supersedes the IDP. So if you are an organization or you are a fraternity, you must make sure that you understand what are the policies that the government has. What are the policies that your local municipalities have? Before you start your own cooperative, your organization and all that, have you understood how these two works? Because you might discover that if the two of them are in conflict, you might be failing to achieve that dream that you have always been planning. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I discuss these important things, I wish to remind you every time that when we come to you as this, and as we are able to communicate these factors, remember, colleagues, that it's only when you register at the African Institute of Leadership and Governance, you register in this course called Applied Leadership, you will be able to be groomed and to be trained to understand how these mechanisms operate. I hope and I believe that you will go to your phone, call us, come to your organization to help you develop that which you need it developed in your organization. Well, I end here today, and I want to suggest that in the nearest future, when you hear that The sessions are on. Don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. The good news is we are committed to see to it that Africa is governed well. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. for the Africa Arise Summit, where we discuss issues that pertains to our continent and how we can develop. Every Tuesday night, join us. This has been your friend and brother, Emmanuel Nkhoma. I sign off.